Well, Parliament resumes today and Jackie Lambie, the independent senator, is proving crucial to some government legislation that Scott Morrison is trying to push through. Joining me now is Liberal MP Dave Sharma. Thanks so much for your time. Let's start with the cashless welfare card. Why should it be expanded?
Well, look, I think in the places where the trial has been underway, in Hervey Bay in Queensland and elsewhere, it's shown a remarkable success rate in not only helping to get people back into work, but also in reducing social harm, substance abuse, gambling addiction in the communities where it's been trialled. So I think it's evidence-based policy at its best. It's rolling out a scheme, seeing what works, and if it works, looking to expand it further, and that's what we're doing in this case. You're
asking people to take more responsibility, get back to work, but at the same time you're imposing more government control. Isn't that a bit anti-liberal?
Well, I think it's about helping people get back on their feet, which I think is very much, in line with liberal philosophy and liberal beliefs. It's not about, it's not a punitive set of measures. It's about actually helping people to address difficulties in their life. It might be substance abuse, it might be gambling addiction, it might be other things that have prevented them from, participating in the workforce in as fulsome a way as they and others would like.
Jackie Lambie says she's also open to supporting the legislation that would see welfare recipients drug tested. I've got to ask the question, Dave Sharma, if welfare recipients are drug tested, should politicians be?
Well, I think, the purpose of that trial is really, it's not punitive. It's designed to allow us to identify people who might need help for substance abuse or substance addiction and to help them address those problems. So no one's going to have their welfare cut because of testing positive on this result. It just means they're going to get a treatment option. So I think, I'd hope any politicians that are grappling with these sorts of problems, be it, alcohol or substance or anything else for that matter, do seek help, and I'd certainly always encourage them to do so.
But we're not talking about alcohol, are we? Or do you think that is as much a problem as drugs?
Oh, I think any sort of substance abuse that, cripples your life and makes you unable to, participate in normal social activities, maintain relationships, maintain families, hold down a job. They're all problems that need to be addressed. But you're right, this particular test is, or this particular trial is geared towards, illegal substances like MDMA and ecstasy and heroin.
If you do drug test welfare recipients, where does it stop? Is this just a thin edge of the wedge? There's calls for politicians to be drug tested. Why not public services, those that work in the public service, anyone attached to a government contract and therefore taxpayer funds? Is that reasonable to think that that's where it might go?
I don't think so, no. I think this is a trial to begin with. So, as is the case with all trials, we'll trial it, we'll see what the results are, we'll see what the consequences are. There might be some good consequences, there might be some unintended consequences, and then we'd certainly weigh that before proceeding any further. But I do want to make the point that this isn't about you have to undergo this test in order to receive some sort of government benefit. The purpose of it, the social purpose of it, is to help identify people that are grappling with these sorts of problems and need more help in doing so. And we've got behind this scheme, packages of assistance to help people deal with substance abuse and substance addiction.
OK, the so-called Ensuring Integrity Bill, the Unionbusting bill, the government is still pursuing. Jackie Lambie has really laid down the gauntlet today. She's saying to John Setka, resign, and she won't support the bill. Would the government consider dropping this legislation if John Setka did resign?
I'd leave that to others, but I wouldn't believe so, no. This piece of legislation was a recommendation from the Trade Unions Royal Commission. It's designed to stamp out, abuse of union power within the workplace and make sure that workers can keep their entitlements and make sure that their benefits are preserved. So I think, for those reasons, we support this legislation. The negotiations we've got to do with the Senate and the crossbench in particular to get this legislation through, I'm not across the details of that, so I'd leave that to others to comment on.
OK, fair enough. Now, Labor, more broadly, has signalled it might not unveil its revised policy agenda until the next election year being 2022. Is that reasonable?
Look, I'm not going to go giving advice to my political opponents, to Labor. This is really a matter for them. But I would say, and I think the Prime Minister's, made this point, we do want to know what they stand for on issues, and if you don't have any policies out there until 2022, well, we won't know what they stand for other than perhaps, being oppositionists, which means opposing anything the government's proposing.
But, I guess the thinking from some, though, Dave Sharma, is that if they don't announce new spending between now and the next election, they have better agility and flexibility to respond to the changing economic environment. Is that prudent?
Well, I think the question they need to answer is, you know, of their $387 billion in new taxes that they took to the electorate at the last election, which ones of those are they intending to keep and which ones of those are they intending to discard? And that's the question they're not answering here. You know, are they going to keep the abolition of franking credit refunds? Are they going to oppose, you know, reductions in the company tax rate? Are they going to continue to oppose our income tax measures? All those sorts of things are questions that they've got that in their policy manifesto now. That still remains, as far as I'm aware, ALP policy. And they need to, you know, either confirm that that's still the case or replace it with something else, certainly well before the 2022 election, I would have thought.
Mr Sharma, just finally, before I let you go, the plight of the Sri Lankan family has been in the headlines, and there seems to be a lot of local support for this family. Do you think they should be given special compassionate relief from the government?
I think they should have full access to the court system, which they've had, and they should, you know, be open to the rule of law, which they've had as well. But we have to remember, I mean, you know, there's about 1,500 other Sri Lankans who arrived unlawfully by boat around the same period as this family did, and have been returned to their country. I certainly feel for them on a personal level, as I would have felt for, I think, many of those others that have been returned. But the point is here, if they don't have a well-founded fear of persecution for return to their home country, and the courts have found consistently that they do not, then they don't engage our obligations as, you know, under the Refugee Convention. And they're perfectly welcome, as many have said, to apply to migrate here to Australia, as others have done. And I'm sure, you know, as they've shown, they've got a track record of making a positive contribution to the community in which they've been living. But they need to follow, you know, due process. And this is what our immigration system is built around: due process and the rule of law.